Have you ever felt that after blowing out the candles on your 50th birthday, your body simply stopped responding to the diets and workouts that always work for you? It feels like overnight that morning walk or cutting back on sugar lost its effect, and belly fat suddenly became immune to any effort. Many people at this stage look in a mirror and feel a deep frustration, believing their metabolism has died, or that this is simply the inevitable weight of aging that we're all forced to carry. But I'm here to tell you that your biology has not given up on you. It has simply entered a different chemical cycle with new rules that no one ever taught you how to play. If you're still trying to lose weight at 50 the same way you did in your 20s or 30s, you are unfortunately fighting a losing battle against your own nature. What worked before may now actually be holding your results back even more. Today, I'm going to open the black box of metabolic maturity and show you exactly what happened to your internal engine. We're going to understand how hormonal and cellular changes created an invisible barrier that prevents visceral fat from being burned. And most importantly, I'm going to give you the code to reprogram your cells and start seeing your waist shrink again, no matter what your birth certificate says. Hello, I'm Dr. Harrison Blake. I'm a medical specialist, and in 15 years of medical practice, I've helped thousands of men and women regain the vitality and the body they thought time had taken from them. If you want to understand how to unlock your metabolism after 50, you're in the right place. Go ahead and click like, subscribe to the channel, and comment below. I'm going to unlock my body. Imagine that until your early 40s, your body had a kind of hormonal security system that blocked fat from accumulating in your belly. In women, that security guard was estrogen. In men, testosterone. These hormones are not only for reproduction or libido. They are powerful metabolic agents that determine where extra energy should be stored. Estrogen, for example, orders fat to be stored in the hips and thighs, creating a safe and metabolically harmless reserve. Testosterone, on the other hand, is the master builder that maintains muscle mass and signals the body to burn visceral fat as soon as it tries to approach your organs. The age of 50 marks the moment when that security system goes on strike. With menopause in women and the gradual decline, andropause in men, the levels of these hormones drop sharply. Without estrogen, the female body loses a command to store fat in the legs. The result? Every extra calorie that used to go to the hips now migrates directly to the abdomen. It's a feeling that you've lost your waist and gained a belly you never had before, even while weighing the same as you did years ago. In men, the drop in testosterone slows metabolism and weakens muscle, allowing visceral fat to advance without resistance, suffocating the liver and the heart. In 15 years of clinical practice, I explained to my patients that this hormonal change dramatically alters insulin sensitivity. When these sex hormones drop, your body naturally becomes more insulin resistant, even if you don't eat a single gram more sugar. It's as if the lock on your cells becomes rusty over time. Glucose can't enter to be used as energy and ends up being converted into abdominal fat due to pure chemical imbalance. That's why the restrictive diet that worked at age 30 now seems to ignore your belly. Your hormonal environment is no longer allowing the burn signal to reach its destination. Understanding this fall of the shields is the first step towards stopping the self-blame. You're not becoming careless. You're operating with an outdated operating system that no longer recognizes the same commands. However, although we can't stop time, we can adjust our lifestyle to send alternative signals that compensate for this hormonal deficiency. Your body after 50 requires a much more refined and strategic communication to understand that visceral fat is not welcome. If we don't adjust our strategy to this new scenario, we'll simply be hitting a wall. Try to use tools from 20 years ago on a machine that now requires much more specialized care. If hormones are the generals giving orders, your muscles are the soldiers carrying out the work of burning energy. The big problem is that starting in your 40s and accelerating much faster after 50, the human body enters a natural process called sarcopenia. This is a technical name for something very simple and dangerous: the progressive loss of muscle mass and strength. In 15 years of clinical practice, I explain to my patients that muscle is the most expensive tissue in the body to maintain. It requires a lot of energy just to exist, even when you're sitting on the couch or sleeping. Imagine that your metabolism is the engine of a car. When you are young and have plenty of muscle mass, you have a V8 engine that burns a lot of fuel calories all the time. As sarcopenia progresses and you lose muscle, that engine gradually shrinks until it becomes a 1.0 engine. The result? You can eat exactly the same amount of food you ate at 30, but now your body no longer has enough furnaces to burn that energy. The excess remains, and since your hormonal shields have dropped, it goes straight to the easiest storage depot, belly fat. What makes sarcopenia a silent thief is that it often doesn't change your weight on the scale. You may still weigh 70 or 80 kilos for decades, but the composition of that weight has changed dramatically. You are replacing active muscle tissue, which burns fat, with passive fat tissue that only occupies space and generates inflammation. This is what we call sarcopenic obesity. The patient looks in the mirror and thinks, "My weight hasn't changed much, but my clothes don't fit and my body feels soft." The engine is shrinking while the load increases. In addition, muscle is the primary destination for glucose, the sugar, in your blood. About 80% of the glucose you consume should be used by your muscles. Without them, sugar remains in the bloodstream. The pancreas releases insulin, and as we've already learned, high insulin is a signal to lock fat burning and store everything in the abdomen. Muscle loss after 50 is not just an aesthetic or strength problem. It is the main trigger for insulin resistance and metabolic slowdown. Many people make the fatal mistake of noticing their belly growing and starting to do only light walking or starvation-style diets. That's a disaster. If you don't provide strength stimulus and adequate protein intake, your body will not burn belly fat. It will eat the little muscle you still have left to obtain quick energy. It becomes a cycle of metabolic self-destruction. You lose muscle, your metabolism drops even further, and your belly grows more easily with the next meal. Understanding sarcopenia means understanding that after 50, strength training and protein intake are not optional. They are medicine. You must fight to preserve every gram of muscle you have, because this tissue ensures that your engine continues burning fat even while you rest. If we do not interrupt this silent theft, no diet in the world will be able to defeat the mathematics of metabolism that shrinks more each year. Have you ever felt that after 50, any small slip in your diet seems to leave you bloated for days? Or that your joints wake up stiffer and your energy takes longer to kick in? In medicine, we use the term inflammaging, a combination of the words inflammation and aging, to describe a state of chronic low-grade inflammation that settles into the body over time. It's not the acute inflammation of a sore throat or a cut on your finger. It's a silent fire burning slowly inside every cell of your body, 24 hours a day. In 15 years of clinical practice, I explain to my patients that our immune system, over time, begins to get confused. It starts releasing inflammatory substances, such as cytokines, even when there is no real infection. The major problem for those trying to lose belly fat is that the systemic inflammation directly attacks insulin receptors in your cells. Imagine that inflammation is like rust that jams the lock of your cells. Insulin arrives with the key sugar, but the lock doesn't turn. The result? Sugar stays in the bloodstream. The pancreas works overtime, and that high insulin signals your body to urgently store visceral fat. Visceral fat, in turn, loves this inflammatory environment. As we discussed in other videos, this deep fat is not just a storage depot. It produces even more inflammation itself. So after 50, you enter a vicious cycle. Aging generates inflammation, inflammation generates belly fat, and belly fat generates even more inflammation. That's why it feels so difficult to break the cycle. You try to put out a fire while pouring gasoline on it through dietary choices that increase this inflammatory response. Another critical point about inflammaging is that it degrades collagen and elastin, not only in the skin, but also in blood vessels and organs. This makes your metabolism rigid. An inflamed body is a body that prioritizes survival, not fat burning. For your brain, if there is inflammation, there is danger. And if there is danger, the body must hold on to every gram of abdominal fat as an emergency reserve. It is an ancestral protection mechanism that, in modern life, becomes our greatest metabolic enemy. Many patients come to the clinic thinking they need a miraculous detox. But what they really need is to reduce the inflammation of their biological terrain. Inflammaging is fueled by sugars, processed vegetable fats, chronic stress, and lack of sleep. Once you're over 50, your margin for error becomes smaller. What your body tolerated at 20 without inflammation now creates a cascade response that blocks fat burning for days. Understanding that your body is on fire internally is essential to changing the strategy. You don't just need fewer calories. You need nutrients that act like metabolic firefighters. Without extinguishing this internal fire, your body will continue resisting any attempt at weight loss because it believes belly fat is the only guarantee of energy in what it perceives as a hostile and unhealthy environment. Fighting belly fat after 50 is, above all, a fight against cellular inflammation. When belly fat begins to grow after 50, most people's instinctive reaction is to start a radical restrictive diet. They drastically cut calories, skip meals, and live on lettuce and chicken breast. However, what worked as a quick shock in your 20s becomes a metabolic disaster in maturity. In 15 years of clinical practice, I explain to my patients that the mature body is much more sensitive to signals of scarcity. When you cut food too aggressively, your brain doesn't understand that you want to lose weight for summer. It believes you're going through a famine or war. Since your metabolism is already slower due to hormonal decline and muscle loss, this severe restriction sends a maximum alert signal to the thyroid and adrenal glands. Your body enters energy preservation mode. It reduces body temperature even further, decreases physical energy, and worst of all, begins digesting your own muscles for quick energy while preserving belly fat. Yes, you read that correctly. Starving after 50 causes you to lose the muscle that helps burn calories and keep the fat that inflames you. In addition, chronic hunger raises cortisol. As we already know, high cortisol is a magnet for visceral fat. The result of this trap is a famous rebound effect. You may lose a few pounds on the scale in the first weeks, mostly water and muscle, but your body fat percentage increases. As soon as you return to eating the minimum necessary, your body, now an even smaller engine and terrified of another famine, immediately stores everything in the abdominal area as a safety reserve. Another fundamental point is cognitive satiety. After 50, our brain's reward center becomes more sensitive to stress. Highly restrictive diets increase anxiety and irritability, which leads to episodes of binge eating, usually at night. The body craves sugar to compensate for the stress of deprivation. You spend the day in restriction and the night in compensation, generating insulin spikes that block any chance of fat burning. In 15 years of medicine, I've learned that the mature body doesn't respond well to subtraction, but rather to strategic substitution. You don't need to eat less. You need to eat better and with greater nutritional density. The secret to unlocking the cycle is not starvation, but giving your body the biological security that it is not in danger. When the body feels nourished and safe, it finally allows visceral fat to be released. Starving is shooting your metabolism in the foot. It's time to stop subtracting and start nourishing your internal engine. To unlock a metabolism at age 50 or older, we need 3 non-negotiable pillars. The first is strategic protein intake. Remember when we talk about sarcopenia, the loss of muscle? To fight it, you must give your body the raw materials it needs. After 50, your ability to absorb protein decreases. So you actually need more protein than a young adult, not less. Chicken, fish, eggs, and if necessary, a quality whey protein should be present in every meal. This signals your body that it can maintain muscle and therefore keep your engine burning visceral fat. The second pillar is resistance training. In other words, weight training. Forget the idea that after 50, you should only do light walking. Walking is great for the heart, but weight training is what talks to your hormones. Lifting weight signals to your brain that you still need strength, which stimulates a natural production of testosterone and growth hormone, counteracting the drop in hormonal shields. Just 2 or 3 short, intense workouts per week can increase your insulin sensitivity in a way no walk ever could. You're not training to become a bodybuilder. You're training to maintain your metabolic independence. The third pillar is foundational supplementation. With soil becoming increasingly depleted, it's difficult to obtain everything from food alone. Magnesium is essential for calming the nervous system and improving sleep. Vitamin D3 acts as a true prehormone regulating your immune system, and high-quality omega-3 is a firefighter that helps extinguish the inflammaging fire. Without these micronutrients, the gears of your metabolism run dry, with too much friction and very little efficiency. In 15 years of clinical practice, I've learned that the secret is not excess but precision. When you combine the right protein intake, strength stimulus, and basic micronutrients, you take your body out of survival mode and place it into vitality mode. You stop fighting the scale and begin giving your body the tools it needs to do the cleanup work itself. It's a process that requires patience, but the results in energy and reduced abdominal circumference are deep and long-lasting. This protocol is what I call a health insurance policy for maturity. By investing in these pillars, you're not just trying to lose belly fat. You are rebuilding the foundation of your health for the next 30 or 40 years. Age is not your limitation. Lack of strategy was your break. Now that you have the map, the path to unlocking your metabolism is clear. We've reached the end of this lesson, and I hope you leave here with a renewed perspective. Being over 50 does not mean your metabolism is broken or that you're condemned to carry abdominal fat forever. It simply means that your body now requires more respect and intelligence in your choices. The impulsiveness of your 20s has given way to the wisdom and discipline of maturity. Now you know that the key is not to eat less but to nourish more, not to run miles but to strengthen your muscles, not to accept inflammation but to fight it strategically. You now hold the map to break out of the cycle of stagnation and regain control of your vitality. Your best shape is not stuck in the past. It may be waiting for you in the near future, built with patience and science. I'm Dr. Harrison Blake. If this video brought you the clarity you needed to turn things around, share it with someone else who is over 50 and feeling lost. Leave your like, subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to comment. I took control. I'll see you at the next level of health. See you in the next video.